Today, we're going to dive into this really powerful Swedish concept, one that could seriously improve not just your health, but your finances too. And it all comes down to rethinking one little word: enough.
Does this feel familiar? I mean, that constant nagging feeling that you need more. More stuff, bigger meals, just more of everything. It's this undercurrent of stress that so many of us are dealing with every single day. But what if there's another way?
Okay, let's just break this down. On one side, you've got what we could call the culture of excess. Bigger portions, endless spending, that constant drive for more. But on the other side, there's this idea called the Lagom way. It's all about finding just enough and practicing mindful consumption. This is really the core idea we're going to unpack today.
And that brings us right to the heart of it, this Swedish secret for finding that perfect balance, a concept they call Lagom.
Now, this isn't some new trendy wellness fad. Not at all. This is a really old, timeless piece of wisdom that's baked right into Swedish culture. It's summed up perfectly in this old proverb, Lagom är bäst, which basically just means the right amount is best. Simple, right?
So, what is Lagom exactly? First off, you say it like Lagom, and it's this principle of, well, moderation. Not too little, not too much, just the right amount. You can think of it as the art of living a life that's balanced and sustainable, without all the stress that comes from going to extremes.
Okay, that all sounds great, but how does it actually apply to our lives? Well, let's start with your health and see how this idea of just enough can completely transform your well-being.
When we consistently eat too much, we're doing way more than just feeling a little too full. We're actually putting our bodies under a lot of metabolic stress. We're contributing to a huge amount of food waste. And maybe the worst part, we're teaching ourselves to completely ignore our body's natural signals that tell us when we're actually full.
And when you see it laid out like this, wow, the difference between a typical modern portion and what you might call a Lagom portion is just huge. And that gap, right there, is where a lot of our health problems really start. So here's the most powerful point about all this. Adopting a Lagom approach to how you eat isn't about dieting. It's about listening to your body again and giving it exactly what it needs to optimize how it functions. You're working with your body, not fighting against it. Now, what's really cool is how this exact same idea applies to our finances. The very same principle that can make us healthier can also bring this incredible sense of freedom to our wallets. I mean, that culture of more often pushes us into a cycle of just spending too much, especially when we start to blur that line between what we want and what we truly need. And that can lead to unnecessary debt. It fuels consumption we can't sustain, and it creates this constant, humming anxiety about money. Sound familiar to anyone?
And look at this. It's pretty much the same picture we saw with food. The gap between what a typical consumer spends and a more mindful, Lagom-inspired approach is just massive. And that gap, that's all the stuff we buy that slowly drains our bank accounts.
But here's the really exciting part. When you start to close that gap, when you start choosing just enough instead of always more, the financial impact can be absolutely staggering. We're talking about the potential to save thousands of dollars every single year.
And this is the ultimate payoff. This isn't about being cheap. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about achieving something so much bigger, becoming financially liberated from that endless cycle of overconsumption. It's about freedom.
So how do we pull this all together? Well, it really comes down to finding your own personal just right. This isn't some strict set of rules you have to follow. It's about tapping into what the source material calls the power of radical moderation.
This table really sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? You've got two paths. The path of excess leads to a stressed-out body and financial debt, but the path of Lagom, that leads to optimized health and financial liberation. The choice between those two outcomes, it's actually pretty clear when you see it like this.
And if you take away one thing, please let it be this. Lagom is not about deprivation. It's not about going without. It's about that incredible feeling of freedom and real contentment you find when you hit that perfect, sustainable balance in your life.
And beyond all the personal benefits, there's an even bigger picture here. When we consume just what we need, we automatically reduce waste and shrink our ecological footprint. So it's an approach that's good for us, and it happens to be really good for the planet too. So, as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Whether it's what's on your dinner plate, the money in your bank account, or maybe even how you spend your time, where could a little bit of just enough, a little Lagom, truly transform your life?